Xbox did a presentation at GDC, and we got a lot of interesting information and statistics about Xbox Game Pass. So as we know, there's been a lot of statistics, information that has come out about Xbox Game Pass. There's always that debate as to whether it is a service that gets people to buy more games, play more games, or if it's holding the industry back in the sense that developers don't want to put their games on the service because it means that people aren't going to go out and pay full price for them, or they may just not engage them because it'll be flooded with all of the other games on the service. Now, from what we've seen since the launch of Xbox Game Pass, that is not the case. We've seen multiple times that people play more games, discover games they would have never played before if it wasn't for the service, and spend more money overall on video games. And we got a bunch more information talking about this at a presentation, as you're seeing here, that was presented at GDC. So I'm going to go through some of the really interesting slides that they talked about just to show you what Game Pass has done and kind of what it brings in terms of getting people to play and spend and just enjoy video games more. So right now, they say here that people discover and explore more games 40% more after Game Pass than they did before Xbox Game Pass, which is something I can relate to. I'm sure a lot of other people can relate to. I'm always exploring and seeing what other games are out there. Sometimes there's just so much exploration I'm doing when I'm on Game Pass that I have a hard time focusing on one game at a time, which makes me take even longer to beat games. But you always are going through and looking at the catalog and seeing a bunch of cool stuff that comes up. Now, this is a stat we've seen before, that members try new games. They say your members play games across 30% more genres after joining Game Pass. And the Xbox Store research shows gamers often settle into a handful of familiar franchises and genres. In addition, 90% plus of the members tell us they've played games they otherwise wouldn't have tried without Game Pass. And that's exactly my experience with Xbox Game Pass. In fact, I'm thinking just in the last couple of months, a couple of games that I probably wouldn't have played if it wasn't for Xbox Game Pass, but have quickly become some of my favorite games. So Far Changing Tides, that was an indie game that I had tried out and definitely wouldn't have tried that game out if it wasn't for the service. Contrast, which was Compulsion Games' first game, which was a very cool first game by them. I had no idea that they had created this game, and I definitely wouldn't have tried it out or known about it if it wasn't for the service. And then one of my favorite games of the year so far, Nobody Saves the World, is a game that day one on Game Pass, and very happy that that was there because absolutely loved it and probably wouldn't have played it for a very long time at the very least if it wasn't for the service. So this next one here is very interesting. It has to do with the audience size for games that have entered the service, and they're back catalog games that they're looking at, so not new release day one games. And as you can see here, there is a large curve of varying from an audience size that is bigger by 1.6 times all the way to 28 times bigger. And what they say here is that on average, 8 times bigger in terms of the audience size for these games that enter Game Pass. But the big thing is a 28 times increase in audience size specifically for smaller indie games. And that makes a lot of sense because you think about it, like my own experience is that a lot of these smaller indie games you would have never heard of or checked out if it wasn't for Xbox Game Pass. So that makes a lot of sense. And I think that's for somebody who is out there making a brand new game, an indie developer, this is going to be something that's extremely encouraging to want to get your games on to Xbox Game Pass. We move over here. This is how Game Pass broadens the funnel for day and date games. So the day one games, and you can see here that about 3.5 times more of a bigger audience in the first 30 days for large publishers, and then 15 times bigger audience for the indie developers, meaning that it's just huge. Like either way, no matter how you look at it, you're a large publisher, you're putting out a game, has lots of marketing, people are going to go out and buy it no matter what, whatever platform that they prefer to play on, but you're also getting that extra boost if you do put it into Xbox Game Pass. So you're kind of getting the best of both worlds. You're getting a deal from Xbox and Microsoft, and then you're getting more people checking it out on top of everybody else who's paying full price on the other platforms. And then ID at Xbox makes sense. The indie games, they don't have a big marketing budget. They're not well known. You put it into a service like Game Pass, more people are going to check it out. And then to top it all off, they just show you here reaching record audiences by launching games into Game Pass. Kind of a marketing thing, telling developers and publishers out there, hey, come to us, come to Game Pass, you'll get more people playing your game. This is what all these numbers are going to be used for going forward. Now, this one here is interesting as well, as it talks about the cultural moments that Game Pass creates. Basically, you put your game into Game Pass, the more people are talking about it, because more people are going to be seeing it and engaging with it. And apparently people on Game Pass, they advocate for games more. They're more active on social media, just talking about the game, sharing it around with their friends. And I think that's something that a publisher would like to see, because word of mouth marketing is the most powerful style of marketing you can get for a game. That's how people buy games. That's how people check out games. If their friends are playing it, if they've gotten a good review from their friends. There's lots of great reviewers out there on the internet, but the best review is the one from your friend telling you to come and play this game with them because they're having a great time. Now, here's one that always is up for debate. You see this on social media all the time, and it's the argument that Xbox gamers don't spend money on video games, don't buy video games. All they do is wait for games to enter Xbox Game Pass, which clearly is not the case. It's been disproven multiple times with stats showing that games that have entered Game Pass have actually made more money overall because people have purchased those games as well as played them on the service. And here is another very interesting, good stat to look at when it comes to the amount of money people spend on Xbox Game Pass, which I think is something that publishers will really be happy to see and potentially make them want to put more games on the service. And it says here, Game Pass members are willing to invest in their experiences. Members spend 50% more than look-alike users. Spend is higher across all types of transactions. And that's also very key because, as we know, add-ons, DLC, microtransactions is where the bulk of money is made for a lot of these games. So they say here, in terms of lookalike audiences, Game Pass members spend 60% more on games, 45% more on add-ons, and 45% more on consumables, and overall a 50% more total spend. Now here they talk about how Game Pass accelerates other transactions, what we talked about on the other slide, and they're talking about something they call PSM, which is post-sale monetization, microtransactions, add-ons, consumables, all that type of stuff. And what they're saying here is after a game gets put into Game Pass, people are 2.8% more likely, or they spend 2.8% times more on PSM revenue per game. And 67% of the PSM revenue will be driven by Game Pass members after entry in the library, and 50% will come from Game Pass members that never played the game prior. So, I mean, that's a huge stat for developers, for publishers, because you're going to be reaching audiences that were going to spend money on the game anyways by purchasing it, and then you put it into Game Pass, and you're going to be getting money from people who would have probably never discovered the game, and just overall increases the success of games on the service. And numbers like this makes me think about games like MLB The Show. I mean, that's a first-party PlayStation game, gets released onto PlayStation every single year. People pay full price for it, and they spend money on microtransactions with the Diamond Dynasty stuff and other things within the game. Then now that it's coming onto Xbox Game Pass for the second year, they're going to have more data, and they're going to be able to do those comparisons of like what this means if you put your game onto Game Pass. Does it increase the amount of microtransactions? Are people spending more money on card packs because they've been able to save the money on paying full price for the game? And then finally, in terms of the total value of Game Pass, they say Game Pass has contributed to the growth of independent developers and publishers. So from 2016 to 2020, there's been 300% growth from participation in Xbox Game Pass, which is pretty crazy to think about. And it really just shows Game Pass is extremely valuable. It's valuable for the big third-party games, like the ones that have lots of marketing and everything, but not nearly as valuable as it is for the ID and indie games. So it's really helping push forward the indie market for video games and helping a lot of these developers, I guess, just make more money off of the games they otherwise wouldn't be able to if it wasn't for Xbox Game Pass. So all this stuff, just very interesting statistics as to what is going on with Xbox Game Pass. All seems very positive, and yes, I understand this is a show that's going to be telling people the positive numbers. It is GDC. They're trying to promote Game Pass, trying to get more people to invest in it, trying to get more publishers to put their games into the service. But it does sound all very positive, and nothing that I think anyone didn't expect. Like, I think most people were thinking along these lines, that it does help a lot of these smaller games, as well as just overall helps more people discover video games, and you can make more money off of microtransactions. And as more of these types of numbers come out, the more success that the service has, the more subscribers that it has, these numbers will continue to grow, and hopefully the service gets more and more just big day one Game Pass games. That's it for me, guys. I just wanted to show you those interesting stats from the GDC presentation, which I thought really gives us good insight as to what is happening with Xbox Game Pass. Let me know your thoughts on all of this stuff. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up. You're new here, you found it entertaining and informative, consider hitting that subscribe button and help this channel and community grow. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for your support, and I'll catch you in the next video.